Hi, I'm Wendy Stapleton and welcome to Wrokdown, coming to you live from Musicland. Well, tonight our very special guest came to Australia from Scotland with the family crew, and who would have known that all of those years ago, if there was ever an Australian rock royal family, this gang had to be it. Would you welcome John Swan, better known as Swanee?
Hi, how you doing? Thank you.
There was the Swans, the Campbells, the Barnes.
The Youngs.
The Youngs, the lot. Welcome, darling.
Thank you.
What have you been up to?
I've spent some time in recovery because you know that I got sick with the drugs and the alcohol and after the party boys and all of that sort of stuff. But I've been recording.
You've been very busy recording.
Very, very busy. I've recorded in the States. We did that Have a Little Faith, which you guys were the only people, this is true, a great album. I got a wish list of musicians that you couldn't possibly get, you know, guys from Bonnie Raitt's band, guys, the best session players in Nashville. And I thought, how am I going to pay for this? And they all said, don't worry about it. You'll sing on the next one. You know, and it was like a really nice thing to do. So with this, I had things to do in the meantime. So I stuck this album together, and it was going to be a solo album until I wrote the first track. Well, you know, you're a rock and roller, you got it in your heart, and that's what you do. You pick it up and you sort of go to that progression, you think. And my wife said, sounds like all the rest of them. As they do. You're 33 years married and the woman's still got the same opinion. But I love her to death. But
She's
you know,
a good girl, Virginia.
She is, isn't she? We'll go into some stories about that later on too.
Should we?
No.
No.
We have too much respect for you people.
We've already had our little
really
joke
is.
about the Zaflakis. I think a few people have heard about
that one would work.
The Zaflakis. Let's for the sake of the audience, start back at the beginning, if you can. You came out to Australia with your brother, Jimmy Barnes.
My sister, Linda, Lisa. Lisa was the one that was born here,
Born in
and Alan,
Australia.
my young brother, who's a singer as well, but he doesn't want to compete against Jim and I, so he does his own little thing, and he's one of those guys who is very stubborn, and if he can't do it at the level he wants to do it, you know, stick it.
Won't do it. Yeah. But so you arrived in Adelaide.
Yes.
With the family, and obviously a really musical family.
Yeah, we were fortunate because we were stuck out in a place called Elizabeth, which now has a really bad reputation. When we were there, it was great, you know. But the fact is that Adelaide was so small as an industry, you could only get so far before you had to come to the big city, you know. And we followed, where is she? She's got the Zoot t-shirt on, Anita. And we followed Zoot to find out where Melbourne was. I think I had just turned, I was 13.
13. But I was going to say, I know a lot of the boys came over when they were like 18, 19, but you actually took off by yourself when you were 13 years old. Yeah. Where did your mum think she...
There was no circus.
Where did your mum think you'd gone?
Well, she didn't. My mum and dad split up when I was 12. A lot of things happened. When my mum and dad split up, the world as I knew it, security was gone because my mum had left the home. And no matter how much I loved my dad and he did the best he could, when your mum goes, it's different, you know. Like, so I sort of thought, I'll make it easier and I'll get out. And there was an opportunity in a Zephyr station wagon to get to. I heard they were going first of all up to somewhere in the hills, and they were meeting. That Zoot were meeting there. They had heard it earlier on in the day that Zoot were meeting there, and they were going to Melbourne. So we followed them to Melbourne. They must have thought these stalkers.
Oh, you
were
literally
us,
did
you know,
follow
like,
them.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
She didn't know where Melbourne was.
Well, don't forget, they were kids too. They were just young Southern boys, you know. But you know, we were more sort of a blues band and a bit of a rock band and a bit of soul. And they were all good-looking pop stars. Oh, Christ, they were good-looking. You wouldn't get out to get something to eat at one of the garages they were stopping at, put it that way, you know.
So you came over to Melbourne at that tender age, and started playing for.
But I didn't know it was a tender age. That's what you did, you know. Like, you know what I mean? You had to do what you have to do in order to survive. And you know, I think by the time I was 40, I was living in Dalgety Street, the famous Dalgety Street, St Kilda, and I'd walk up and down, and I'd bump into people, and it was ladies of the night, so-called, and they had such a bad reputation. They used to take me home, and they would get me a roll and a cup of tea and a shower, and they'd wash my T-shirts and stuff like that. And then they would go out to work, and they'd come back at 7 o'clock in the morning with the same, you know, a roll, cup of tea. And there was none of that, the ugliness that comes along with that business. You know, they were just women who nurture kids. And I was fortunate enough to meet, well, honestly, they really were. Well, They were so good that.
Yeah, they were good, all right.
they were so good. They tried to marry 35. No, but they really did give us that love that you need when you're a child, because we were knocking about with guys like Max and Yuck and, you know, like all of those.
Point over there and say Yuck.
Pointing at her husband. You know, but those guys were. There was gigs in Melbourne. We could do the Bowl, 10th Avenue. Even Myers used to have a lunchtime parade, and I went across the road to see, because what we were trying to do was meet these musicians and say, you know, hi, we're Adelaide musicians, can we get a support? We'll do it for nothing, we'll do whatever you want us to do, you know, within reason. And they gave us gigs, and they also gave us money to have somewhere to stay, and they introduced us to Ambo and people like that, you know, Jeff Joseph, and you know.
I know all of those people. We've got the whole night together. You realise that?
Sorry, yeah. Well,
we're going to take a short break, but before we go to the break, we're going to take you out of this segment with Pharrell Williams, who has done so well this year. This is a clip that we don't actually very, very often in Australia get a lot of the overseas film clips anymore. So this is Happy, and I'm happy to have you here.
Yeah.
Happy to have you on Wrokdown, and we'll be back very, very soon.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Wrokdown. My very special guest this evening, Swanee.
Thank you. What a great song.
Yeah,
love it.
We were just complimenting each other.
Yes.
As you do. Of course, John's deaf and I'm blind, so it's all good. Okay, so just before the film clip and the commercial break, you'd arrived in Melbourne.
Yep.
13 years old.
Yeah, just coming up for 14.
Started to get a few little gigs. You played with Lynn Randell. Was Lynn Randell?
Chub Abbey, let's call it a day, yeah.
Do you remember that? That was one
Do you
of my
remember that?
favourite
Right.
songs. I remember that.
Thank God for that.
And so did she know you were 13 or 14?
No, they don't. I mean, we hardly even seen the stars. We were, you know, Gary Spryer, I think, was a manager, and we were in the back of the car, and I'm in the back of the car, the boot. No, it was all very good, but, you know, they're things that just come along. They need a backing band, and bang, can you do it? Yep. You know, no problems, we'll do it.
So basically, that was the start.
Yeah,
that was the start for you, and you never went back to Adelaide. Oh, well, you are back in Adelaide now, but you didn't go back.
I went back to Adelaide because when you're living with adults, like I'm not going to mention their names, that would be wrong, but when you're living with adults who do things that adults do, drink, drug, all that sort of stuff, for a 14-year-old, you just want to play along, you know what I mean? And so by the time I was 17, I was full blown, and I sort of quit and joined the army, thinking that'll straighten me up, give an idiot a gun, you know, like. But
that didn't work.
Even after 2 years, they said, John, retention in the military forces, not in the intraday forces. Get out, son. So I was quite pleased, because by then I just wanted to play music. I mean, that's all I ever wanted to do anyway, you know. Like, but that attempt to get your life back to normal, whatever normal was, because when your parents split up, you don't have that benefit of your mother giving you advice and saying, don't do that, that's not good for you, you'll go blind.
So when you went back to Adelaide, your little brother, Jimmy,
Well, yeah.
was he already playing back there?
Yeah, he just started off. He had a band called Tarkus, and they were beginning to do things, you know, and small things. So I tried to get him into bass and showed him a 12-bar pattern, and then he thought he was Jacob Pastorius, and he wanted to. We always sung, and I don't play piano by like properly. I learned it by root, third, fifth. That's a chord. That'll do, you know. And if you hear a rundown, that's Matthew. That's exactly what you hear. And they rung and said, "Your sister's had a baby," and I wrote a letter to her, because I was just hanging on to sobriety just enough to really be able to dot. And that became Matthew. We just went in and recorded it, and it was nice. I've been blessed in my life because I've met some of the best musicians that Australia's ever. Billy Thorpe is still, you know, like, God, I can't say enough. He was, you know, like, he was one of the boys. But he was also a strong guy. He would tell me, "Don't do this, mate. You know, you don't have to follow all these idiots, you know, like," and there was guys like Procession, remember all of those bands? You know, Melbourne was full of great bands, you know.
It was a great time for
Reno,
Melbourne, wasn't
Compulsion, you know, like you can go to the ball and watch Reno in the afternoon, you know, like it was like, yeah. You know,
it was a very, very special time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, well, how many albums have you made now?
I've actually made about 13, but only a couple have get to be released. I did one for my father. I did Nat King Cole stuff, and that's to be released at some stage. But it was more personal, so I'll release that when the time's right. I've got two others, Bushido, which is owned by Swanee, and I think they're going to release it so I can have all my back catalogue. So the others are ready. I've got two other albums ready for this. We've got an American album with Mark Moffat, who's my first producer he's a Brisbane boy.
From Australia,
he did the Arthur Yindi and everybody.
He's done
Kylie,
really well.
With Kylie, and he got me a thing in a Kylie movie called The Delinquents, and I had to do Lucille, the Jerry Lee version, you know. And my story is that you can do whatever you want to do if you put your mind to it and you've got the balls to get up and do something. I mean, I want to come back here to Musicland and play with these kids that are in that other room, you know, and sort of mentor kids. I do that in Adelaide. I'm ambassador for the Royal Adelaide Hospital, Hampstead Hospital, and it's not because I'm a good guy. These are things I do because I'm grateful to be given a second chance at life, you know. I'm 62 years of age, and I roll up to these places and all of these young kids go, oh, they used to call me Mr. Swan, you know, like, hi, Mr. Swan. I said, not bad, you know, and then the second day, all day they're ignoring you and they give you, and then the second day, one of them's Googled you and they come back and they're going, oh, wow, we didn't realise you were famous.
Yeah. Well, you are a good person. You say you're not a good person. You are a good person, and I know you are.
Thank you.
So when we come back, I want to also talk about your recent award.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have been inducted into the Hall of Fame in Adelaide, which is a big honour. So. And also talking about people being given a second chance. The next clip that we're going to have a look at, this artist, this is his second chance as well. He was one of the biggest acts in, I think it was the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he created the visual thing and everything for himself.
We're going to take this segment out with a new clip from Boy George. This is King of Everything. See you soon.
Wrokdown.
Hey!
Hi, Wendy!
Welcome back to Wrokdown. Now look who I have sitting next to me, the gorgeous Susie Kinder. Sitting next to Swanee.
And my heart's beating really fast.
I think you're looking very gorgeous. This is very sort of, I was saying, go-go's, isn't it?
I went shopping with our gorgeous Cheryl, who's over there. And yes, I've picked up a little bit of bling because I don't have much bling.
Oh.
And what a lovely
Make
night.
me look like I'm in my pyjamas.
Oh, when went. I had to. I was picking up Swanee today.
You should have seen what we... Oh, never mind. That's another story.
You've been out and about.
Mine was better than this.
Yeah. Where have you been, Susie? What have you been up to?
I've been all around town.
Yes, I know that.
I went over to the Caravan Music Club for a change. And Matt Taylor was there with Phil Manning and Chain. Who remembers Chain, hey?
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Matt Taylor.
Matt Taylor.
What a hero.
They packed the house. There was not a place where you could just stand without...
How many people does that place sort of...
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just mature people like us. It was a lot of young people, 30-somethings, very cool retro 30-somethings, grooving to the music. It was fabulous, absolutely amazing. But I want to ask the audience something, okay?
Yep.
You broke my back because I spat on a guard. What do you sing? What's the catch cry?
Work all day.
Work all day? Yeah? No.
We're
groaning.
Yeah, we're grown.
I was
We're
13
grown?
and I've been singing it for all these years, but I got it wrong. We're groaning.
We're
Because
groaning.
We're groaning. You're me, Swan.
You're not wrong.
So yeah, that's what I learned.
We're groaning.
Because they're saying you're smashing rocks, you're out in the hot
Yes.
sun. What are you doing? Groaning. Yeah. So
They
not
were
work all
convicts.
day. So we had a fantastic interview with the guys. Just something else. They sounded amazing. I haven't seen the guys perform. The last time was Festival Hall, and I think I might have been 13. And it was, I remember when I was young.
Yep.
So many great songs there. So we've got the interview.
Phil
Let's have a
Emmanuel.
look.
Yeah, we're going to have a look at the interview.
Yes, please.
Hey, it's Susie here, out and about for Wrokdown TV, and we're over at the Caravan Music Club, and I'm just stoked beyond belief because look who I found. Matt Taylor. Hey, Matt.
How are you, Susie?
Fighting fit.
So funny, you.
So you started off life up in Queensland. Was the band the Bay City Union?
Bay City Union, yeah.
Not the Bay City Rollers, the Bay City
Oh.
Union.
Look, I was in a band called the Bay City Union before the Bay City Rollers, and I was a band called Genesis before Genesis. So,
That's right.
yeah, I beat them all.
So what brought you to Melbourne?
Oh, well, Melbourne was the centre of Australian music.
I remember you guys played at the Village Green Hotel.
That was
every
yeah.
Saturday night.
That was really, with Chain, Thorpe, Max Merritt. That was the start of, pub rock.
Yeah. Now, Lobby introduced you to Thorpe, didn't he? Hey?
I'll tell you how he did it. He said, Matt, I'd like to introduce an old schoolmate of mine.
Yeah.
This is Billy Thorpe. And I'm thinking, what, Billy Thorpe? Somewhere over the rainbow, mashed potato. What on earth is he introducing them to this old blues guy? Yeah. And then Thorpe says, look, Lobby holds you in fairly high regard, and we don't want to cut your grass or anything, but I want to come into Melbourne, and we're going to start a blues rock band. And I said, if Billy Thorpe wants to start any kind of blues band, it can only be fantastic, which it was.
Yeah.
And we were always, appreciative of what each other did.
Yeah.
Right till the day he went.
Now, you're the only band, I believe, to have a blues band to have number one
In
Aussie
Australia.
in Australia.
Yeah.
And a number two.
And a number two.
This Mr. Phil Manning guy come up with a bit of a riff for a bit of a song, a bit of a working man song.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was in a band called Genesis, and the guitarist was leaving. I heard that Chain had broken up in Queensland, so I sent Phil a telegram. Yeah. Phil, come down and join Genesis. And about 3 days later, I get a letter, and it says, Matt, Chain hasn't broken up. Why don't you come up and join Chain? I went up on a Wednesday, and we had to play that Friday, so we had to practice that Wednesday night. Everyone's packing up, and Phil's just sitting there playing his guitar, and he goes, dum da 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 da. Da, 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 da.
I feel the Sharpie dance coming on already.
Yeah, I know. It just turns you into an instant Sharpie. And as soon as I heard it, I said, Phil, what's that? Where'd you get that riff from? He says, oh, it's just something I've been playing around with. I said, guys, go and have a cup of tea. I'm going to sit in that corner, write out the heaviest words, and we're going to do a work song. And we did it that Friday night.
Your album, is it Towards the Blues, has been the longest album, like, consecutively available for how many years?
Must be 40 odd.
How did that happen?
It's incredible.
That's remarkable.
Yeah. Well, someone once told me that they said it was the first Australian album that you were game to put at the front of your album pile, because all the people who like Russell and everything, they just hide it just behind their Beatles albums or their Rolling Stones or something like that.
Times have changed, haven't they?
Oh yeah, well times change pretty quickly after that. I want to ask you
something really funny. My brother used to tell me about. Got a brother who adores your music, and he's a little bit older, and he'd see you every week in Carlton in the mid-70s.
Yeah.
And you'd sing a song about Doggy Doo.
Oh, no.
No?
No, what it was...
Did he stitch me up?
No, he didn't stitch you up. In one of the lineups, it was the Matt Taylor Band, and we used to do a song at the end of the night called Bullshit. And whatever was happening in the news that week, I'd just say, the Vietnam War's just bullshit, and, whatever was going on, it's just bullshit, and we'd just go on and on and on. And when I got back together with Phil, we'd be doing gigs, and Phil would say, Matt, we're playing really great, but all these people are singing out bullshit.
They'd been to your gig.
They'd all been to the other one, and they were requesting it. And I said, no, we're not going to do it in this band.
I'm so pleased to have you on Wrokdown TV. We're
honoured
just
to
really,
do it.
really happy to have caught up with you. The boss will be happy.
Good.
Miss Anita. Been cracking the whip. You better get hold of him.
Get him,
I did.
Tie him down.
Yeah.
Yeah, she tied me down, and I quite enjoyed it.
Thanks so much. It's
Thank
been an honour.
Suze.
Yeah, real pleasure. Real pleasure. Wrokdown over and out.
What a great interview. I mean, you know what? When you're younger and you're watching bands, like I used to go to all of these places like Sebastian's, very cool, very groovy, and everyone in the bands, you perceive them to be so cool that they won't talk to you. And it's fabulous because years later you see them and they're such fun.
It looks great. It looks better than what he did then.
And you that would have been the time when you came to Melbourne too, when all of these boys would...
The Tum, Catcher, all of those places. Remember those? You do. Yeah. Nobody's admitting it, eh? Okay.
I wasn't allowed to go to Catcher.
No, I know.
But I just loved that. I mean, he was such good fun, and obviously it was a great night. Was that after the show?
No, just before the show. We scoffed down our dinner, and I was watching me there thinking, oh, God, don't pick those peppercorns out of your teeth, Suze. We scoffed the dinner down, and we got the interview in, and then they went and performed, and Lawrence and I had the absolute privilege of standing there and watching the gig. We're filming, but I actually got to watch the gig, and...
He was filming, you were watching.
Yeah. I was Sharpie dancing.
What changes?
Oh, fantastic. Susie, I want to come with you one night.
Please do, my darling.
All I do is I just sit here for a week. I don't move.
No one lets him go to
I
the
just sit
loo.
here.
A Sharpie. But can you imagine a Sharpie dance? Pointed runners.
I've seen Susie's dance.
Yes.
I have got the Sharpie dance. I'm going to teach you that later on.
Hold it. I'll hold this. We've got to go to a break, but come on quickly. Take us out. Take us out with the Sharpie dance. Susie Kinder. Yay! Well, I remember when I was young.
Wrokdown.
Welcome back to Wrokdown. My special guest, Swanee.
Hello, how are you?
The one and only John Swan.
Hi.
We were talking about the wonderful Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton during the break.
Yeah, well, Kenny's had some great songs. They were in Adelaide just recently, and I never realised how many songs Dolly had and how many people she had written for. But I actually went back and had a listen to her version of it, and I'm not kidding you, she was just blowing me away, you know.
She's written. Well, you know, the reason we're talking about that is because obviously, as we've said on Wrokdown, we try and play things that aren't getting a go anywhere else.
And you know, so I hate to say it, but you go along to these concerts and you think, oh, you know, Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton, it's not going to be real good. You go along, you sit there and you go, you know, it's just wonderful.
It's so good.
Plus, they've been, I mean, she's the smartest business lady I know, her and young Kylie, but she gets up on the show and she patters away and you fall in love with her. It's like sort of, you know, oh.
But even all of the songs that...
just the royalties coming off of...
Oh, ching, ching, ching,
I'll always love you!
Yeah, that's the song I was going to say, was a lot of people don't realise that Dolly Parton wrote I Will Always Love You. You know, of course,
she's written.
Whitney Houston sang it in the, what was it, The Bodyguard.
Wikipedia, just to have a little look, you'll be surprised. I mean, I know people say, oh, there's a lot of people who write a lot of songs. She is probably one of the most prolific. Yeah, her royalty guy just sits there and goes ka-ching, 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 except with every finger, ka-ching, ka-ching.
And she's got Dolly World. But yes, did you actually go to the concert? You said you wanted to go and see.
Yeah, okay. I did, but Virginia wouldn't let me out. I've been married 33 years. I'm not allowed out on Thursdays. Well, I've learned. You keep these open and you keep this closed, and you just don't do anything else, you know.
Let's have a look at this film clip. It's I've got to look at this because I've forgotten. It's gorgeous. It's Ken and Dolly, and it's called "You Can't Make Old Friends." Oh. Oh, wasn't that gorgeous? It was absolutely beautiful, and you don't get to see all of these things.
Listen, if you listen to the timbre in their voices, you know, like when there's nothing going on, the beautiful quality of the voice.
Yeah, we were just saying that, you know, Swanee said if you don't use it, you lose it, which is...
Mate, this lady's up working every day, believe me. You know, like there's not just the Dolly Empire. She loves to keep going and keep doing things, but she loves to sing. And
him too. And their voices are just still absolutely beautiful.
You can't fake that, you know.
No.
I've tried. Can you imagine me and Jim trying that? You can!
You could try it like that. We could do that.
But one, two. It can we can live it! Beautiful, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Oh dear. No, that's absolutely beautiful, and of course we have a lot more of where that came from, because we're going to try and present to the audience music that you're not going to see really on Australian television.
No.
Because basically, as we've said before, there's only a certain market that can get their film clips shown and stuff like that. So we hope to bring more of stuff like that, which is really gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, you agree? Yeah,
we're going to soon go to a quick break, but we don't want anyone to go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to catch up on what you've been doing with charity lately, because you work tirelessly with charities.
No, I enjoy every second.
And I also want to talk to you about your album that you did in America with all of these fabulous musos that we're talking about. So we're going to take a very short break and be back very soon. Don't go anywhere. Swanee's going to sing for us. Yeah! See you soon.
Wrokdown.
Thank you. Aren't they fantastic? Welcome back to Wrokdown, John Swan. Or Swanee.
Yeah, even my mum calls me Swanee. It's terrible, isn't it? That's not really what she calls me, but in front of TV, you can't say it.
And how are the family? Like the extended family, of course. You know,
Which one? There's about 84 of them.
there's about 84 of you, yeah?
Well, you know, they're all really good because now the kids are all, you know, like Mahalia and
Ellie Mae and Eliza.
And Eliza's in, she's in New York with...
This is Jimmy and Jane's kids.
Jimmy and Jane's kids.
And little Jackie, he's not little anymore?
Jackie's in Los Angeles playing with the Ten Tenors, and he's working with all these different people who around the world. He graduated from Berkeley University with honours. And Jackie's the type of boy who never ever wanted his dad to pay for him to go and do it, you know, which was, see, if it was me, I'd be in there like that, you know. But he said, no, Dad, this is mine. This is something I have to do for me, you know. And I went, okay, you know, and Jim went, far be it, you know. But he's just one of those lads.
No, it's fantastic
Great
news.
drummer, great
fantastic
drummer.
News.
I think he's going to go and study corporate law in Japan. So.
And then, of course, there's young David, who's got the
Young David is...
Today Show?
He's settled really well into the Today
TV,
Show, like you wouldn't
TV,
believe. You know, he's a good lad, and he's got a little boy now. See, something happens when they have a child. They get this little 4-year-old, and we were at my mum's 80th birthday, and they were all having a bit of a chat, and everybody was focused on the 3 kids playing with each other, because that's the future, you know, and there was no who's got what, you know, where's your Lamborghini, you know? Next to the Passat, yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about you, because
Yeah.
apart from the fact you have an amazingly talented family, you're all talented,
Yep.
and God bless you all.
Thank you.
You have been honoured with an award in Adelaide, inducted into the Adelaide Hall of Fame. Now, can you tell us a little bit about...
I only just found out myself because I didn't know, and one of the guys said, we want to induct you, and I said, how much is it going to cost me? No, but it's a real honour. I'm pleased to be there. I never played music for... People are funny. I never played music for gold albums. I didn't play music for any more than enough to be able to eat and pay the rent. And I've had a good life out of it. We all have.
Well, apart from that honour, I know that, as you said, you don't ever make any music or do anything for the money. And a lot of people find that hard to believe. But I know Swanee, and I know that he's a genuine person, and you spend a lot of time and give every cent that you possibly make for your charities to the source. And you particularly spend a lot of time trying to help kids make something of themselves.
Well, I don't want them to... I told you before I had a drugs and alcohol problem, because in those days it was very cool, and well, it wasn't very cool, just that I was so young I didn't know it wasn't cool. Now I want to be that person who's there for them, who can teach them that, you know, they think they've lost their world, and I can go up to them and say, well, look, if I can pull I'm 62, if I can pull myself out, I've got a thing going in America, I've got this album here, one day at a time. I live my life one day at a time. I get up in the morning, I go to the gym, I try and do something. What's the next right thing to do in order to be able to exist? And sometimes it's play music. Other days I go and play music to people, and I don't say it to try and impress you or anything like that. I say it because this is where I get my gift of life. I'm here, I shouldn't be here, I should have been dead long ago. You know, well, they wouldn't, you know, AC/DC, Born, myself, you know, like, we were very, very, very close mates and very similar. So why would you bother having another person like that there? I'm here today, and what I do is I go to those kids and I say to them, this is what I'm doing. I want you to have a look at what you can do. What do you want to do? And they can't come up with the money, they can't do all that. Now, all the guys who used to be younger guys and not important in the industry are running the frigging thing. So I go to them in the corporate and I say, excuse me, you know, we need you over here. Because it's okay to set up a program for them, but you've got to have somewhere where they come out of it, where there's a safety net and they can, you know, continue on doing it. Otherwise, you just bring them out of... I go and play in jails. I sat for about 6 weeks in palliative care, holding people's hands while they were dying. Now, you may think that's a hard thing to do. For me, it was a blessing. I was honoured to be part of it. And I'd played them a couple of tunes, and you could see that, you know, I got one of the guys he hadn't played guitar for a while, and I said, why haven't you played guitar? He said, I'm dying. I said, well, play guitar. You've got all these guitars, play some guitar. And within a week, he was out of home, and he was at home, and I went along. His wife said, "You better come. What have you done to my husband? He hasn't stopped playing guitar for a week," and blah, 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 you know. And I said, "Well, I'll be up in a minute," you know, and I went up, and I play at, I'm ambassador for the Royal Adelaide, the Hampstead, the mentally handicapped kids who get hurt in car accidents, young kids. So I had these guys come up, and he came out and played with me. And he went back and played, after he finished that part, he went back and played to the palliative care people where he was supposed to be dying, you know what I mean? And I wrote a little tune that I can't play tonight, but I'll play it for you next time I come.
You will?
And it's called Here's to You. And I looked across at him, and with, you know when they have radiation, it's all very draining and they're grey. His eyes were white. He was sparkling. He had a smile on his face. Now, these guys just came in and took a couple of little photos, and they sent them along to my Facebook site. I sent them to his wife, and she was in tears, and he said, "I've had enough. I've done what I wanted to do," and he died 2 days later. But, you know, I know it's sad, but it's at least they get to do what they want to do. For me, that's what I want to do. I want to make other people happy with music. You just seen it there. They do it. You know, it's not about money. If it was about money, believe me, I'd have a real job.
You're such a... We're going to have to get you back because we haven't even had a chance to talk about all of these other things that you've done, the albums that you recorded in America, so you've got to promise to come back.
Yeah.
Before we go, could you please put your hands together for our fabulous crew tonight, Wrokdown?
Good night. God bless you.
Yay! Thank you.